In this world, monsters and adventurers live harmoniously and fight with magical clones to prevent bloodshed. Also, their fights are live-streamed, because dungeon battles slap harder than Mr. Beast's content. On a fateful day at the dungeon, an adventurer named Alvar uses his magical sword to subjugate some werewolves, while Luck, the Holy Knight, backs him up. Their excellent teamwork earns their party some praise from the commentators, while the group's alpha, Phoenix, advances deeper into the dungeon. Suddenly, a giant werewolf appears and he volunteers to attack it, while asking a girl in his party to support the others. Alvar and Luck admire her warrior rice cakes while she gets rid of the werewolves at lightning speed, after which she picks some arrows and uses her supersonic archery skills to defeat the werewolves. At the same time, Phoenix calmly heads to the boss, so the other party members back him up by preventing other werewolves from getting to him. In the process, Luck zones out like you in class, and Alvar defeats a werewolf that almost had his brains. But while Alvar nags about it, another werewolf starts funneling his chi at. Luckily, the lady saves him from getting ripped apart and warns them to remain focused. Finally, Phoenix comes face to face with the boss whose intimidating size is thrice the normal werewolves. Even then, Phoenix is undaunted and determined to make this win for his team. So he draws his sword, and just when the beast is about to shred him with his claws, Phoenix stops the attack with his sword. Gradually, the beast's claws begin disintegrating and its entire body becomes engulfed in flames. It roars in pain, but Phoenix delivers another blow, increasing the fire's intensity and leading them to victory as the beast succumbs to the flames. The commentator then announces Phoenix's victory over the boss, although he finds it unsurprising because Phoenix is the hero of flames, possessing the fire spirit that makes his sword the most powerful. Being successful, the adventurers enter the safe room and check using a magic stone, concluding their raid for the 4th floor. Meanwhile, the announcer speaks about the Black Mage, Rem, who's supposed to be a supporting team member, but is more useless than terms and conditions. They say it's more useful to have a white mage than a black mage, and when Reem overhears them, he feels sad. The white mage represents restoration and all the good stuff in life, while black magic is the exact opposite as it attracts bad luck, reduces fighting abilities, causes hypnosis, and poisons the system. Both white and black magic can't be visually perceived, and black magic is neglected because it's simplistic and has no direct assistance to its teammates, while white magic visibly enhances their abilities. Now the battles are live-streamed. Watching black magic is of no use, and it's unappealing. Despite Rem weakening the monster's magic, messing with their senses, and turning them blind, his efforts aren't appreciated, especially on camera, as his teammates look so flashy in action, while he looks like Baba Yaga's apprentice as he chants away. Just then, they arrive at the 5th floor of the Demon King's castle. Apparently, the magic stone is like a password that gives them entrance into the Demon King's castle, but no party who's confronted the Demon King has made it out alive. Currently, Rem's party is in 4th place based on their influencer rankings, and Rem wonders why the hell he's even needed in such a party since he doesn't contribute to their views. But his attention drifts to the party's hero. It turns out that Phoenix is the first person to form a pact with the fire spirit in over a century, so people believe he'll bring an end to the Demon King's reign. Surprisingly, he's Rem's childhood bud, but their differences are as clear as day and night, with Phoenix being a hero and Rem, a side chick side guy. Eventually, Rem ended up losing his job, and it all started a few days back. He was at the guild with his teammates when Alvar called him a burden, ignoring Phoenix's pleas because Rem was just a waste of breath, unlike the other teammates who proved their usefulness to the guild. He went on to say that it was only because of Phoenix that anyone considered Rem unworthy behind, so he wanted him to stop leeching off of Phoenix. At some point, Phoenix told Alvar to stop disrespecting Rem and apologize to him, but the piece of crap refused and incited his teammates, saying they weren't obligated to put up with Rem. Luck expressed that he didn't really care whether or not Rem was with them, but Alvar put words into his mouth and assumed he would prefer having a better teammate altogether. He then asked Lily about her opinion concerning the matter, and she said she defended Phoenix, saying she didn't believe he picked Rem because of sentiments. However, Rem's magic isn't really apparent since the party's fighting style requires more brute strength. With that, Alvar had what he wanted, and the decision was made final. The bastard bent over to Rem, saying he wasn't trying to hate or anything, but he tells Rem to try casting his black magic spells on him to prove that he's useful and get a well-deserved apology. At that moment, Rem zoned out and remembered how, as a kid, he had a Demon King for his master and told Phoenix to keep it a secret. Just then, Phoenix banged on the table and snapped him out of his flashback, saying he wouldn't forgive Alvar if he spoke any further. But by then, Rem had already made his mind up and announced his decision to quit. This shocked Phoenix, while the dumb Alvar encouraged the decision, calling Rem a coward and immediately announcing a replacement. For Rem, this won't be a first, because that's what comes with being a black mage, and he exists only to get cancelled, even though this wasn't what he envisioned before. Right when he's leaving, Phoenix runs after him and asks him to hold on a little. But Rem tells Phoenix not to worry about him because he's now determined to surpass them by joining another party. They mock him, however, saying no one will ever want him in their party. Anyway, from then onwards, Reem says Phoenix will cease to be his friend, and they'll be rivals. Later, he wonders why the complaints about him are always the same, although they would have let him stay if they told them the true source of his power. However, he doesn't want to expose his master, and he's glad that Phoenix has kept his secret since childhood. Although Ray mentions something about joining a new party, only heroes can actually make parties, and he's just a loyal black mage who won't be accepted by anyone else. His train of thought is, however, interrupted by a commotion, and he sees a girl apologizing to a man for faulty goods, but on closer inspection, he finds that she's a demi-human. The older guy beside her consoles her for losing another customer, but they lighten up when Rem walks in and asks for some food. The girl motions to some creepy apples, and Rem picks one that's as shapeless as your girlfriend. But she tells him that the apple is juicier than it looks, although everyone else has been turned off by its shapelessness. Just when she thinks Rem feels they look disgusting, he takes a bite. Afterward, Rem compliments the fruit's deliciousness and calls her an amazing saleswoman, asking her to recommend more stuff to him. Excitedly, she agrees, and the older guy thanks Rem as he leaves, but the girl calls out to him to say that her name is Cashew. Though he wonders why she's named after a fruit, Rem tells her his name and she says she'll be awaiting his return. This melts his heart because he realizes how badly he's craved to be needed by anyone, which takes his mind back to the conversation he had with his master. The man told him that no one would recognize his value unless he attained his peak, and deep down, Rem felt that someone out there might need him. This turns out to be true because far away from him is a beautiful damsel caressing his picture and using him to massage her kahuna. So far, weeks have passed since Rem left his party, but he's been turned down from one party to another, all because he's a worthless black mage. The rejections make him cringe at the parting statement he made when he was leaving, and he can't even return home because he rejected his parents' offer. Left with no choice, Rem decides to use the adventurer matching service, even though the registration fee is triple their minimum wage. Unfortunately, Rem gets 0 matches and turns white as a ghost due to shock, so he decides to get some food at the girl's store. The shopkeeper asks him if he can employ other fighting skills outside dark magic, and he says he doesn't have an aptitude for other jobs. To cheer him up, Cashew says she likes dark mages, and he thanks her while roasting her guardian for using her cute face to lure customers. Despite being young, Cashew's trying her best to help out with the family finances, and Reem became her very first customer, showing up consistently because he's a lolicon. Interrupting his thoughts, the shopkeeper narrates how he also went to be a tailor, and no matter how much he practiced, he was no match for those who were blessed with that gift. In this land, kids find their destined jobs in a temple, in the form of a prophecy, and no matter how hard they work to build other skills, they're forced to do what's been selected by the gods. For people like Rem, who would have preferred to be heroes but were blessed with a different gift, this could be seen as a test from the gods, although Rem was at the point of despair. Later, the shopkeeper offers him a place at the store if things don't work out as planned. That instant, they see a thief running after dragging a lady's purse and holding a knife in his hands as he charges towards the store. So Rem tells the shopkeeper to stop the man from proceeding any further. The man is worried about his safety, but Rem assures him that he'll support and protect him from harm. The shopkeeper agrees and tells him to watch over Cashew, so Rem instructs Cashew to go hide somewhere. At that moment, Rem becomes worried about going overboard with his magic, but seeing that the brute is approaching the shopkeeper, Rem goes ahead with it. He focuses his magic on the man, and just as he plunges towards the shopkeeper, aiming his knife at him, he suddenly becomes too heavy to lift himself and becomes blind on the spot. This gives the shopkeeper a chance to punch the bozo's skull and take the knife away from his hand while giving him a perfect uppercut that lands his body on the ground. Following his victory, the shopkeeper celebrates and Rem hails him for subduing such a dangerous guy. But Cashew remains in hiding and Rem startles her when he calls her from behind. While the shopkeeper hands the lady's purse back to her, Cashew loudly calls out to him, So when the lady finds that he is only a shopkeeper, she asks him to sell her one of his foodstuffs. This surprisingly makes the other bystanders interested in patronizing him, and seeing this makes Rem happy because people now recognize the shopkeeper as a hero. While some men lift the ugly thief, Rem wonders if he's now lost his touch, because even after leaving the party, he kept up with his training as he had promised his master. This is because even after being blessed with dark magic, he couldn't give up on being a hero, so his master put him through gruesome training and he mastered his magic. While he's distracted by his thoughts, he bumps into a lady who says she's been stalking him and addresses him as the Black Mage. He's shocked, but she compliments his flawless magic execution, further compounding his confusion. When she claims to be a huge fan, he thinks she's mistaken him for Kanye West, but after she confesses to stalking him, he realizes that he actually saw something like a bat's antenna lurking around. He assumes she's a vamp, and she thinks he dislikes her type, but he explains that the look was that of surprise. Holding his hands, the lady says she adores his magic and has been searching for him ever since he withdrew from his party. As she draws near, Rem wishes he could ravage every corner of her hot body, so she quickly apologizes for being too hot that he almost lost control. Rem expresses her gladness to meet someone as gentlemanly as himself, and she didn't really mean to harden his wood. However, Rem can't be offended because she's so hot and smells so good, so he tells her he can't even hate her. He asks for her name, and she says she hasn't changed since the last time she met, so he wonders if they'd met somewhere before, even though he can't really recall much. She says her name is Mira, and asks him out for tea, so Rem, feeling nervous, says nothing useful in response. But when she cutely looks at him, he agrees to go on the date. On the way, Rem notices that Mira really stands out because she's a drop-dead gorgeous beauty, but she brings him back to Earth when she says he's the best black mage in their country. While he stammers for a response, she reminds him that he's the only mage in the top 10, and she surely knows that Phoenix's success couldn't be achieved without Rem's black magic. Mira also says that his control of magic is accurate, and he seems to have studied black magic to the latter. Sad memories of his ex-teammates' hurtful words flood his mind, and Rem says he's never been appreciated ever since he became an adventurer. He's quite confused, though, that she knows so much about him from just being a fan, and she further compounds this by saying that Phoenix's success with the monsters was all thanks to Rem's weakening magic. When she steps aside, Rem's shocked to find they're at the demon castle, and he asks her to explain who the heck she is. It turns out that she's been aware of his real strength for some time now, and knows he deserves respect and a fitting position, but right now, she wants him to lend her some of his strength. As they walk into the castle, Mira presents Rem to the Demon King, who addresses her by the name Carmilla. This instantly reminds Rem of the last place he saw her, and he recalls that she was the boss of the 3rd floor, who manipulates bats with her magic. By nature, Mira is cruel and heartless, far from the Mira he just met. Right then, the Demon King addresses him, and he realizes that no one has ever met the Demon King physically, but it turns out to be a Yunjin named Lucy, and that just deads his vibes. Noticing his mood, Lucy thinks he's looking down on her, but he responds with no comment. Impressed by his modesty, Lucy sits back and gets down to business, so she appoints him as staff officer of the Demon King Castle. Now, Rem's about to lose his mind, because this makes him second in command of her army, but she's shocked that he's only finding out. She asks Mira if she explained this to him, but she says she doesn't want him to lose his mind before arriving at the castle. For some reason, Lucy now thinks that Rem only followed Mira to the castle because he wanted to stuff her with his buttercream, but he says he would never, and she gets pissed that he doesn't find Mira attractive. However, she calms down when Mira softly tells her to stop being freaking bipolar, and she returns to the topic at hand, saying that it was Mira's wish for her to appoint Rem as the staff officer. She then startles him when she asks him which of the Demon Kings trained him, because he can't have achieved such expertise in black magic all by himself, much less as a human. He swallows hard, and she understands that he can't reveal the name. So she lets the topic rest and explains how long ago the Demon King terrorized humans. Before continuing, she asks him if the said master resembled her and had similar horns, but he doesn't budge at this either. Seeing this, she says she might be the current Demon Lord, but she'd like to know his opinion about a grandfather who retired and abandoned his granddaughter to rule. Rem feels this grandpa may be his master, while Lucy's just glad as she assumes that he was trained by her legendary grandfather. She would have tested his abilities, but there's no point, given who his master was. Next, she tells him to start working and help her castle to prosper, And then Mira says that although she can't force him to work with them, she'll be thrilled to work beside him. She asks him why he decided to be an adventurer despite knowing it'll be a difficult path to tread. And he confesses that he only wanted to be a hero and apologizes for saying such an insensitive thing in front of a demon lord. Lucy says it's cool, but Mira still asks him why he wanted that too badly, questioning if it was because he wanted to look heroic defeating monsters. He confesses that he did, and wanted to show off his swordsmanship and get praised by everyone. However, Mira asks him who he thinks a hero is, explaining that she not only respects him because he's the ultimate black mage, but because he's kind, helpful, and selfless, which are a true hero's attributes. Now she asks him if he still thinks he can only become a hero as an adventurer, knowing that adventurers are merely dungeon raiders, while monsters are dungeon defenders and are mostly demi-humans. In this light, Rem asks if anything will change when he becomes a monster, and she says that monsters always hide their true forms, so Rem won't have that flashy hero title. However, she advises him to consider the fact that in the castle, he'll be free to be who he is as a monster, because even though humans don't understand his power, every monster he's fought before knows how powerful his magic is. This means if he becomes their ally, he'll be a symbol of strength to demi-humans, just like heroes are to humans, and defeating adventurers would encourage others to identify as monsters. After this, Mira says she never considers humans prey, and she admires his ambition and kindness. That being said, she asks him to be their hero, and he agrees, so Lucy officially appoints him as her chief of staff and the hero of monsters. Next, Lucy introduces the 4 heavenly kings in her demon castle, Aegir's, Furcus, and Mira, with one who's yet to show up. Mira is assigned to become his assistant, and he's a bit surprised, but Lucy explains that he ranks higher than the heavenly kings. Aegir's extends his congratulations to Rem on his appointment as the chief of staff, and that based on the reports he received from Mira, his powers exceed that of a typical black mage. Aegir's also tells Mira that he's aware of her obsession with Rem, all thanks to Lucy's big mouth. Mira gives Lucy a bombastic side eye, but Aegir says there's no point because he'll always support Lucy's decision. However, Mira calls him P. Diddy and tells him to keep his rotten wood away from Lucy, so he defends himself, saying he's merely her protector. They get into an argument about Aegir's lewdness until Rem interrupts them, asking if he can consult Lucy to tell him about his duties as a staff officer. Before she does that, she names Lemegeddon as his dungeon name, although he would rather be named after a goat. She actually is because it's one of the game's rules, to prevent demi-humans acting as monsters from being identified by their real names. Also, people prefer seeing the heroes win, so if they don't, the viewers may attack the monsters that defeated them to seek revenge. They later hold a meeting and in summary, Rem must stick to his dungeon name, and his mana body shouldn't reveal his true identity, so they consider getting him an avatar. In doing this, he can't alter his skin color, and it'll be illegal for him to assume a largely indistinguishable form, although he can wear horns. Interrupting his thoughts, Lucy throws him a magical ring that permits him to summon anyone he's contracted with, sealing a verbal oath between them. However, the ring can only register about 72 people, and he'll use it mainly to summon monsters to chase adventurers away. But first, Lucy will restrict his contract targets to her subordinates, testing his ability to form a rapport with them. After the briefing, Rem realizes that he's only being entrusted with such a valuable ring because he's Lucy's grandfather's apprentice, so as she says she's counting on him, he promises to treasure the ring. Soon, the meeting ends and Lucy says she'll throw a welcome party, so Aegir asks her if he can sit beside her, but she just can't trust him not to be a creepy uncle with a lolly complex. Later, Mira and Rem head out, and she apologizes for all the embarrassing sides of her he saw, but Rem's just glad to finally get so much praise from her, and for reminding him why he wanted to be a hero in the first place. But from nowhere, Mira stammers and asks him to be her first. Rem's shocked that any sensible girl would want to be the first victim of his tiny pickle down there. But Mira just meant that she wants to be the first one he seals a contract with because the ring records the order of monsters he contracts. She justifies why she should be first by explaining how she's been there with him the whole time, and Rem also acknowledges that he wouldn't be in the castle if it weren't for Mira. Without hesitating, he holds her saying yes and asks her to be his first contract, but she suddenly becomes shy and he backs off. Flustered, Mira explains that what she really wants to do is sip and dry, and even though she immediately tries to change the topic, Rem assumes that she means to suck his blood since she's a vampire. When she calms down, she asks for the ring and places it on his finger, swearing an oath to show up at his side on demand. Next, she kisses his finger and becomes excited that she's his first contractee, and she promises to appear when he needs her, especially when his morning wood is thumping. He says it's too early for her to schedule bedroom meetings with him, so she asks him to take good care as his assistant and contractee. But before she leaves, she tells him not to hesitate to call her when he wants his sausage grilled in her biological oven. When she leaves, Rem is determined to fulfill his job as the staff officer, starting by getting intimate with all the staff. The next day, Rem plans to visit Cashew and the shopkeeper, and when he gets there, Blitz thanks him for helping him the other day. But Rem tells him to keep it a secret. Cashew also won't be a problem, because she insists that her manager didn't get any help from Rem. To express his gratitude, Blitz hands Rem a bag of coins and Cashew gives him some dumb apples, so he asks for more apples to take them back to his colleagues. However, Blitz realizes that he may have gotten a new job and asks for the name of his new party, but Rem lies that it's only a temporary arrangement. Later, Cashew returns with some apples, but Mira shows up from the blue, asking to help with his bags. She's shocked to find him there, thinking he's a Rem Kelly like a Gares, but after he denies it, she asks Cashew if she'd like to work with them as Rem's exclusive assistant. Because she's Rem's friend, Blitz entrusts Cashew into her hands but questions the security of the workplace, so she assures him there's nothing to worry about. However, Cashew still wonders why she specifically picked her for that job. Apparently, Mira overheard Cashew's conversation with Rem and thought this opportunity would help the girl assist her family better. Besides, it won't be bad for Rem to have an assistant he can trust. Gladly, Cashew asks Rem if it would be troublesome for her to be his assistant, and he says he'll be thrilled to have her, although he wonders if it's okay for someone her age to work in the Demon King's castle. After considering it, Cashew agrees to be Rem's secretary, and Blitz celebrates her new job by gifting them some fruits. Later, they meet up with Cashew's mother to explain the situation and learn that she's a struggling single mother with 4 kids to cater to. Despite this, the woman refuses to let Cashew take the job, even after hearing the fat salary attached, proving how much love she has for her daughter. Eventually, though, she succumbs to Cashew's tantrums and lets her have the job, and then she thanks Rem for being Cashew's first customer while entrusting her in his care. On the way, Rem asks Mira why she employed Cashew as his assistant despite her age, and Mira tells him with a straight face that he needs a sympathizer. This is because he usually doesn't expect much from others, and only a few like herself and Cashew truly understand the extent of his magical prowess. Besides, she can't stand to see him underappreciated. She then tells him that monsters are under their boss's control, so he can use her subordinates as he wishes, but from now on, he needs to contract people like Cashew and herself whom he can trust. This takes him down memory lane, remembering how he was the center of attraction as a kid, but got deserted by everyone when they found out he'd become a black mage. No one but Phoenix believed in his dream to become a hero, so he's glad to have a new set of friends who believe in his dream, even if it means that he'll be battling Phoenix someday. Later, Mira takes Rem to meet the werewolves, starting with their boss, Markyosha, whom Rem's former team defeated the other day. But he really doubts that this guy would accept him after all he's suffered at the hands of adventurers. Mira leaves him and Cashew, and they enter the second playing field where they find Markyosha training his boys and warning them to prepare in advance to counter Rem's attacks. When he turns and sees Mira, he recognizes Rem and cheerfully welcomes him to the dungeon, much to Rem's surprise. He speaks about how Rem whooped him silly and Rem attributes it to Phoenix's strength. But Mark becomes infuriated, saying that Phoenix easily won because of Rem's impressive magic. However, he asks Rem why he undid his dark magic when Phoenix squarely faced Mark, so he explains that he was simply representing Phoenix's wish to have a fair fight, as well as Mark's desire to do the same. Impressed with Rem's response, Mark agrees to be on Rem's side, because he also can't wait to whoop his ex-teammates. As he transforms into his human form, Mark asks Reem to sign a contract with Rem, and they seal the pact, while Mark's subordinates offer Rem their support. Knowing he'll be placed on the 10th floor, just below Lucy's floor, he gears up to observe Phoenix's group and the new member of the group. Days later, Phoenix's team returns to raid the 5th floor, but some cute cafe maids surprisingly welcome them. Rem, watching from the control room, has already formed contracts with the 1st floor boss, Nibirius, the 2nd boss, Chimerus, and their aide, Blurage, who are all powerful. Meanwhile, Phoenix's group is trying so hard to figure out why there are strippers in a dungeon. One of the maids moves to Alvar and touches his sword, The doofus falls for her charms before his idiotic team leader realizes that they've been entrapped by succubi. He then tells them to beware, because succubi can steal their mana, and even if he can ward off against their charms as a hero, his teammates can. Before he knows it, Oliver is already getting laid in all four directions, so the cute newbie Bella steps forth to showcase her abilities. With her sword, Bella creates a bright beam of light, summons ice, and freezes all the succubi, leaving her teammates in the center. Next, they apologize for thinking with their sausages, and realize that if Bella wasn't a white mage, even the hero's powers would have been drained. They take the lead, and Phoenix is impressed that Bella's sense of direction is so strong, although she's younger than them. However, on the way, one succubi breaks out of her ice and grabs Bella, while draining her powers. The girl passes out in Phoenix's arms, and a crest appears so soon, meaning that they'll be having a sudden battle with the floor boss of that level. The chief succubus gloats, and her frozen comrades spring back up to life, giving them a fight for which they weren't prepared. Phoenix becomes fed up and walks straight up to the boss, who taunts him, saying they're only that strong all thanks to Bella's magic. Well, she suddenly becomes a hater and calls him an ugly, disgusting creature whom she hates, while introducing herself as Citri, the demon of love. Phoenix is also not going to give her an easy battle, and he says that all he does is win no matter what. Days later, the party members gather for lunch and Bella holds out her glass. Then they all reluctantly join in one another, cheering for their victory over the 5th and 6th floor bosses. The 6th floor, in particular, was hectic, because sharks ran away from the Atlantic and released all the sharks into the dungeon, so they were overwhelmed. Every attack was stronger than the last, and while the many other fishmen created a temporary distraction, a giant shark appeared from the blue and devoured Luck. Lily would also have been attacked behind, but Bella rescued her just in time. To be honest, this was more like a defeat than a victory because they couldn't successfully defeat the floor boss of the 6th floor, and 3 of their members lost their ability to fight well. Oliver points out also that even though they've tried to strengthen the party when Rem quit, it seems not too much has changed as they expected. Lily tries to calm him down, but Oliver takes this the wrong way and begins to yell at her. He also blames Luck for making sloppy mistakes, and Luck retorts right back at him, leading to a heated argument, which Oliver concludes by blaming Rem for their bad luck. At this point, Phoenix has had enough bullcrap from this son of a banana, so he shuts him up, jacks him, and reminds him that Rem's not even their member anymore, and he can also stand to watch his best friend get insulted. Luck agrees with him, but also points out that Rem was weaker than your stroke game, and they can't all get along if Phoenix insists on placing his best friend before them. Quietly, Phoenix just accepted that he spoke out of line when he just couldn't tell the team members what they were benefiting from Rem's presence. He apologizes and says he only saw Rem as a necessary member, and then Bella puts her hand up to make a suggestion. She points out that they were all being pitted with enemies who far outperformed the 3 of them, and this could mean that Rem was way more powerful than they thought. They're shocked at this revelation, but she points out that Oliver and Lily's accuracies have been reducing compared to their previous fights, while Luck hasn't been spared either. The solution, then, is for them to all accept that they will now be fighting without the help of Rem's black magic, even though it would be a tough pill for them to swallow after looking down on him for so long. They all agree with her, and Phoenix decides to focus on their individual abilities and formulate a new strategy. According to him, they don't fail in battle because, in the end, the hero will always win. Meanwhile, Lucy holds a welcome party at the Demon King's palace for Rem and tells him to get set for his first battle with his ex-teammates. For now, he intends to get acquainted with as many members of the palace as possible, so he'll gain their acceptance. Later, he overhears Citri confessing her crush on Phoenix and admiring how he's respectful to demons. Hearing this, Rem analyzes and realizes that Phoenix has led the others to conquer the other floors seamlessly, and is now about to face him squarely on the 10th floor. Later, Mira spoon-feeds him, but he refuses, saying the only thing he wants to eat is her cookie. Later, Aguirre joins them and scolds Citro for clinging to Lucy after being such a failure. But Lucy tells him to stop being such a bully, because Citri isn't as bad as Rem, who's chilling with his baby mamas. Citri becomes jealous because she's Mira's friend with benefits, so Mira calms her down and calls her a good way. Actually, the 4 heavenly kings are friendly, and even Aguirre has formed a contract with Rem, despite suspecting him to have a lowly fetish. Also, Rem finds the 4th king, who only demands a lifetime supply of food in exchange for signing his contract. Later, he bumps into Citri, and she asks him if he's confident that he can defeat Phoenix. He hesitates but tells her he can do it only with her help. However, she only wonders if he has the balls to deny his best friend a victory. But Rem thinks it'll be an insult to go easy on Phoenix, so he says it'll be a fair fight. She says she'll form a contract with him only when she's satisfied with his eggplant. Later, the party comes to an end and Rem bids Lucy and Mira goodbye. Then he picks Cashew, and even though she's high on capricin, she tells him she wants to be a monster when she's older. However, it's too early to decide her future, so Rem wonders if it'll be wise to discourage her, but he chooses to support her until then. Surprisingly, Lucy tells him to stop forming contracts when he's signed 71 people, because she wants to be the last contractee. The battle day arrives and Rem is dressed in his monster attire, so Lucy tells him not to give out his dungeon name just yet, because she wants him to be regarded as a mysterious man. She wishes him luck, and he promises to give her desirable results to thank her for employing him at the castle. He heads to the battlefield on the first floor and meets a werewolf named Glacia, who's known as the Invisible Slaughterer. With his magic, he can make a target invisible, and that trait will prove useful in Rem's fight. For now, his enemies are some losers in the 249th position, consisting of a hero, 2 warriors, a holy knight, and a hunter. The hero seems to have formed a contract with the Wind Spirit and is named the Roaring Thunder Hero. After defeating some lucky puppies, the hero becomes a pompous idiot, but his teammates remind him that Phoenix's party is way ahead of them and they have to sit up. However, the idiot feels it's just a waste of time because they can't lose as long as they don't have a disgusting low-life black mage. As they proceed, Phoenix asks Glacia to activate the invisibility feature, which will get cancelled when they're close to their targets. Rem feels bad for the low-budget dogs that were sacrificed, but he did this to give the enemy a false sense of security. Soon, Rem gets close and is revealed to them as a humanoid monster who led the phantom dogs. The party members are confused at the sudden appearance of a humanoid monster, because this wasn't broadcast on the streaming platform. Without wasting time, their hero rushes to attack him before he disappears, but while they charge toward him, Rem targets them with his black magic, and they suddenly lose the ability to move, leaving their hero with no support from them. Even though he's strong, he can only manage to fend off about 6 phantom dogs, so they still try to help in their little way, but still find it difficult to move. The knight wonders if the phantom dogs can perform black magic, so he tries to locate which one of them is casting the black magic, though it's impossible to know which. This is all going according to Rem's plan, because he doesn't want anyone to discover his identity as a black mage. Right now, he further confused the knight by turning some of the phantom dogs invisible, so in despair the knight tells his team members that it's a trap because there are tons of phantom dogs using black magic, and this will make them split. Already, they'd fallen for the trap, and their hero, instead of trying to help them, focuses his attention on Rem, quite unlike Phoenix, who would take everyone along. The hero soon calls out to Rem, asking him to show his ugly face, so Rem releases some phantom dogs and the hero uses his sword to clear as many as he can, but he doesn't see the wolf approaching from behind. According to Rem's plan, while the hero was casting multiple spells to defeat the dogs, Rem would weaken him, because it would be invisible for him to counter the attack while simultaneously attacking the dogs. Now, Rem casts another spell on the hero which disrupts his mind, turns him blind, and leaves him vulnerable to Glacia, who bites his neck. This causes the hero to disappear and the phantom dogs finish off his underlings. Afterward, Rem thanks them all for helping him succeed, and the dogs rush to cuddle them. Days after his victory, Rem earnestly begins his administrative duties, assisted by Cashew. At the same time, the day of his battle with Phoenix is drawing nearer, as they have already conquered the 8th floor. For now, Rem plans to visit someone who has been helping him, none other than the gorgeous Mira. But before he gets to her, a wasted rascal uses his trashy pickup lines on her, but she asks him to leave her alone. He gets mad and kicks the bench, then raises his filthy hands to slap her. However, Rem quickly grabs his cursed hand from behind and bends it almost to the point of breaking it. But the idiot finally apologizes and Rem lets him run off like the coward he is. Mira secretly notes this as the second time Rem has helped her, while Rem has a déjà vu that he's helped her in the past. Anyways, they head off to town to enjoy their date, and after a while, they head down a path. Mira says she's tired and clings to Rem, but he wonders if she really just wants to get laid. She denies this and asks him to decide on how he wants to use her to satisfaction, but he then finds a piece of paper that she accidentally shopped. It turns out to be Citri's course of virgin seduction, and Mira denies ever knowing about it, although her lies are obvious to Rem. He can't believe she's trying this hard to please him, so he just tells her that he won't mind her sucking his blood. They find a room and sit in awkward silence, so Rem asks Mira if they'd truly met in the past. She's glad, thinking he finally recalls their encounter, but he confesses that he's forgotten. It happened 2 years ago when she was working as a vampire in a different dungeon. There she worked as the blood controller, an ability that permits her to control her blood and the blood from those she's consumed. Eventually, she became a monster, aspiring to become a floor boss and a dungeon master. Unfortunately, even lower-ranking male adventurers were promoted above her, because Andrew Tate was her manager. One day, she turned down a senior colleague's advances, so she was posted to the bottom of the dungeon. There, she sighted Phoenix's party and observed them from a distance. She told Rem that he was obviously following Phoenix because he was at rank 13, which was the only way a black mage could ascend to such a level. After, she walked past Rem, but he called her back and asked her if she'd be alright, after seeing her staggering. Still, she ignored him and was approached by some stupid fools who covered her mouth, took her to a dark corner, and bound her. Next, they began to rip her shirt while she struggled, but before they knew it, they turned blind, and this was Rem's magic at work, after which he bastardized their ugly behinds, one after the other. When the dudes passed out, Rem put on a jacket over Mira, and she asked him why he helped her even after the nasty things she said to him. He told her that he's been consulted by all kinds of people and usually finds it hard to differentiate between a hater and someone who's just speaking from a place of pain, just like her. Afterward, Mira apologized to him and asked him why, despite being so powerful, he lets people get away with insulting him. He said that he had a dream and put all his heart into achieving his goals and advised her not to give up. Back to the present, Mira confesses that she became his fan ever since then, and he expresses that he feels blessed because his kindness to Mira paid off, leading to him working at the Demon King's castle. He thanks her, calling her his benefactor, and she places her hand on his chest, slowly pushing him to the bed. Next, she asks if it's okay for her to insert her fangs into his neck, and he agrees. The next morning, she pops the dreaded "what are we now" question, and Rem tells her to place a title on it by herself. Later at Blitz's shop, he celebrates Rem's re-employment and hypes his successful fight with the Roaring Thunder hero. He remarks on how Rem and Mira are always on good terms, but Rem seems a bit closed off to Blitz and still addresses him informally. He advises him to loosen up, but just then, a stranger interrupts them after recognizing Rem. Rem also recognizes him and refers to him as the Tempest hero, Ariel, who's the second hero to contract one of the 4 great spirits and leader of the top-ranking party in the world. Ariel discusses that he's been looking for Rem for a while, but at the same time, Rem sees a girl who almost recognizes Ariel. He quickly casts confusion upon her, and her attention is diverted elsewhere, saving Rem the stress of dealing with unwarranted attention from Ariel's fans. He did something similar when reporters were trying to interview him after his withdrawal from his ex-party. However, these spells won't work on someone like Ariel who can resist his powers. As Ariel introduces himself, Blitz seizes the opportunity to ask for an autograph. Ariel notices that Mira's a vamp, and she basically claims to be Rem's wife, so he's glad that Rem found good friends even after leaving his party. He asks for a moment with Rem about rumors that he was looking for a new party. Surprisingly, he invites Rem to become a member of his party and asks about his current job. Rem says he's currently not an adventurer and asks Ariel who withdrew from his party. It turns out to be a white mage named Panacea, who was almost as poorly treated as Rem. She's a MILF, so after her 3rd kid, they advised her to settle down and stop getting filled with her husband's jelly. Now, Ariel offers Rem a permanent position in his party, and Rem can't believe that he'll officially be a member of the #1 party in the world. However, he wonders why he of all folks, and Ariel says he's intrigued by Rem's powers, and they're unfathomable. Shockingly, he asks Rem if he knows Lucifer, the ruler of demons, but he obviously won't say a word about his master. Ariel continues that during his raids as a newbie, the mere sight of Lucifer sent chills down his spine, which is the exact feeling he experiences around Rem. Hearing this, Rem internally acknowledges that Ariel deserves to be the #1 hero because he has an excellent sense of perception. Before leaving, Ariel says they'll give Rem a week to consider the offer, and Blitz jubilates about Rem being a rank 1 adventurer. For some reason, Mira starts saying her goodbyes, but Rem asks her why she thinks he'll ever accept the offer. She explains that Rem originally aimed to be a rank 1 adventurer, and his current position as a monster forces him to hide his face, which isn't the life he yearned for. He quickly grabs her and runs to catch up with Ariel, who thinks he's made up his mind to join their party. Rem breaks his heart, though, when he says he would like to decline, and Ariel asks him why. Rem says that even though he always wanted to rank in first place, he didn't want it to be given to him on a platter of gold. The response earns Rem Ariel's respect, and Rem thanks him for recognizing his powers while agreeing that he's found a place where he belongs. Ariel wishes him luck as he aims for the top, but reminds him that he'll have to defeat their party first, to which Rem responds that he'll win at the right time. Days later, Rem and Cashew go for a walk, and she chooses to stop by a design shop that creates avatars and magical bodies for monsters. She requests an avatar, and the creepy receptionist claims she'd already designed an attire for Cashew way ahead of them. She leads the way to the dressing room, and Rem waits outside, forced to listen to their dumb girl talk. Later, Cashew steps out looking like a Paw Patrol cast, which is a whole level of cuteness. Days later, it's announced that Phoenix's party has broken past the 9th floor and will advance to the 10th, which is Rem's. As he mentally prepares for the upcoming battle tomorrow, he receives a knock on the door and surprisingly finds Phoenix standing outside. Shocked, Rem asks him how he found his hideout, and Phoenix says he got intel from Ariel that Rein had found a job, so he tracked him down using mana detection. Phoenix straight up tells Rem that he needs to share something urgent with him, and Rem suggests that they discuss it over a drink. At the bar, Phoenix asks Rem how he's doing, but Rem feels he's been acting strange. Confessing, Phoenix says he thought Rem would get upset about the whole party drama, even though he actually tried convincing Rem to stay. But his friend said it would be foolish for him to think that way because he didn't get angry when Phoenix became a hero, and he didn't. As they eat, Phoenix asks him about his lover, which he denies, but he also asks him why he left the party on his own, even though he and Phoenix started the party together while they were younger. In his defense, Rem says that he couldn't stay because he was a deadweight black mage at the party, and if he revealed his true powers to them, loudmouths like Alvar would have exposed his secret. Again, Alvar was fed up because they were stagnating at 4th place, but Phoenix says they wouldn't even have gotten to that place so fast, had it not been for Rem. Somehow, Rem feels responsible for their lack of progress because he, being trained by a demon king, had a great deal of magic which boosted his teammates' abilities and gave them a false sense of strength. Phoenix also shares the blame, however, the teammates now recognize Rem's powers for what they are, and that's all thanks to Bella's brilliant mind, which could also pose a problem for them soon. Obviously, she's onto Rem's great power as a black mage and may soon suspect the source. Phoenix, feeling guilty, begins to apologize for what happened, but Rem says he would have messed up his career as a hero if he chased the others because he had a childhood friend complex. This makes Phoenix feel that their dreams will never come to fruition, but Rem says he's not given up on becoming a hero, even if he turned down Ariel's invitation. Phoenix genuinely wonders if Rem's found a party, and he asks him to be straight with him. So Rem discloses that he's found new comrades and they're going to be competitors from now on. He reminds him that he also said it when they were kids, and Phoenix smiles, wishing the best man luck. Eventually, they cheer to being rivals and heroes, and on the walk back, Phoenix says he'll be invading the 10th floor, intending to win and rank first. However, Rem calmly says he shouldn't be so sure, and that they should just wait to see what tomorrow holds. Rem also says he'll be moving to a different place, and Phoenix says he wants to be introduced to his lover. Unknown to him, he'll face his best friend in the dungeon the next day. The D-Day arrives and Phoenix gets interviewed about his upcoming battle, as well as his relationship with Rem ever since he left the party. While Phoenix is wondering what to say to please the people, Bella blurts that she feels Rem is an incredible black mage. This visibly shocks them, so they say that the audience has been pleased with them since she came in. However, Bella tells them that they're dumb because the party's scores have been lower than before, ever since Rem's departure, not to mention the fact that even Ariel has complimented Rem's strength. The ashamed reporter shifts his attention to Alvar, hoping to get a negative comment from him, but Alvar tells him to mind his freaking business. Phoenix gives him a hard, bombastic side eye and tells him to watch his back from now on. Bella warns them not to use magic to threaten anyone, and they get set to raid the 10th floor. Meanwhile, Alvar is getting set with his comrades, and he cheers them up, reminding them that they've each fought against Phoenix's party members and know their weaknesses. He boosts their morale, saying that they haven't given up despite Phoenix being the hero of flames, even though they may still lose. However, Amarkosias, a 3-headed dog named Tiberius, and Blasia all say that they're not fighting to accept defeat. He's also supported by Chimeras, the Great Spirit Commander, the Gangrene Hunter, Lirage, and finally, Furcus and Mira. Impressed by their desire to triumph, Rem encourages them not to give up and to obey him. And then they all pledge allegiance to him. They set out to meet Phoenix and his party members, and Rem addresses them, confident that they won't recognize his voice because he's using Alexa's voice. Initially, Rem would have slowly oppressed them with his black magic, and used the other monsters to defeat them like he did the other teams, but he now chooses to fight along with his comrades and defeat Phoenix's party all at once. Next, Rem introduces himself as Lemegidon, the Black Mage of Tusks. Phoenix also introduces himself and discloses his intention to slay the ruler of demons, but Rem stops him dead in his tracks when he says they'll be annihilated on the spot. He proceeds to cast some black magic on them, and Phoenix surprisingly bursts out laughing, after which he tells his team members that they'll be going in full force because they'll suffer if they stall. At this point, it's clear that Phoenix knows that Lemegidon is actually his best friend, so Rem says he's willing to take him up as a challenger. As they get set for battle, Alvar and Luck note that the 4 Heavenly Kings are present, and even though they've been defeated before, it'll pose a problem if they all attack the party at once. Rem organized things in such a way as to respect the rules where the Heavenly Kings can appear on any floor, while the floor bosses are confined to the floor they originally dominated. However, the monsters can appear on any floor if they're summoned, and since the adventurers don't know about Rem's ring, he has an advantage. Meanwhile, Lily says that Furcus is difficult for her to defeat because her arrows can't pierce through his armor, so she advises that they target the floor boss. However, Bella says it wouldn't be a good plan because the other party was defeated for using the same approach. She suggests that there may be more than one black mage, but Alvar tells her to stop being a Yappington. Just then, Furcus charges at them with great speed, clashing swords with Phoenix. With no winner, he draws out his spear, and they spar back and forth until Phoenix's attack eventually gets to him and wounds his shoulders. Right behind him, some mutant newts pop from the rear and Bella takes up on them, joined by Lily. Next up, Mira shows up in her devilishly hot stripper wear, while using her blood to release some bats. From afar, Luck recognizes her as the extreme sadist bitch with a high concentration of black magic, and Alvar boastfully insists that he'll get rid of her in a few seconds. He draws out his long curved sword, saying that black magic can't be cast upon weapons, no matter how slow he might get. While watching them, Rem realizes that indeed, magical swords act based on their user's thoughts, and they're immune to black magic. Just then, Alvar extends his sword towards him and Rem acts cool about it, slightly cocking his head as the sword tip disintegrates a few inches away from him. Rem holds the sword and gradually begins to pull Alvar in, at the same time drawing him toward Mira and Furcus. Next, Mira draws out her blood spear, and while Alvar's getting pulled, she slashes his hands off. The crazy bitch says she'll only let him die when she's tormented him to her satisfaction, and his teammates rush to help him. He warns them not to waste their time and deems himself a sacrifice, while Mira tells him to prepare for defeat. The big mouth says he only needs to defeat her with his legs because she's been defeated before, but Mira isn't worried because she's determined to win. Quickly, Rem commands her not to end Alvar just yet because he intends to use Alvar's magical sword to his advantage. Mira begins torturing Alvar, while Rem successfully activates the sword and it rapidly targets Alvar. Scared, Lely asks Bella to protect them, and Bella exposes that the floor boss could predict Alvar because he knows their party too well. She advises that they spread out, even though that will cost her some mana and she'll be unable to cast ice. Rem predicts her plan, but since Alvar is in that state, they'll have to abandon him to protect the other members from Rem's newly acquired sword. However, they can't let the viewers see them acting in their own interests, so Phoenix tells Lily to freeze Alvar as well. She does this, and Rem's sword is unable to pierce through the ice, but it seems this is exactly what he wanted. Instantly, he summons Mark and Nibirius and commands them to destroy the wall of ice. While they do this, he summons Glacia, Chimeras, and Lirage. Glacia activates the invisibility feature on Chimeras, while the dogs try their best to break the walls. Rem draws his sword, while Phoenix deals with Furcus, who seems to mostly be on the defensive to keep him busy. Phoenix confronts him, saying he thought he wanted a rematch, but it seems he's just wasting time. He asks if Rem's worth all the stress, and Furcus says yes, because he'll lead them to victory. This makes Phoenix feel bad because monsters recognize Rem's power even before him, but it doesn't matter after all, because he'll win in the end. Disrupting his train of thought is a heavy concentration of mana from beyond the wall, which must belong to the floor bosses. Immediately, he warns his teammates to be on guard because the floor bosses are coming in. But Bella says they're already stuck with 2 heavenly kings and the ice wall will soon collapse. Thinking deeply, Phoenix realizes that this could result from summoning magic. Bella says it certainly requires a significant amount of mana to summon that many bosses, someone who must be as strong as the ruler of demons. In his thoughts, Phoenix realizes that if it is really Rem behind the mask, it's believable, knowing that the dude never missed a day in training his magical abilities. Just then, Oliver tells Phoenix to use his magic and save them because the ice wall is breaking. However, he can't use his massive spell because it'll engulf everything. Mark and Iberius burst forth and challenge him, while the magical sword appears out of the blue, stabbing Luck right in the chest. He's immediately disconnected from the game, and his teammates find it difficult to stomach his defeat. Meanwhile, Rem tells Mira to have a heart and stop torturing Alvar, so she lets her bats feast on his pathetic stuff. At this point, it's also clear to Bella, and she admits that she's sure Lemegeddon is Rem. This immediately bothers Phoenix, because now his friend is busted, and Bella keeps asking for his permission to go to the front lines. Phoenix knows that Rem doesn't know Bella as well as the others, but he still doesn't know if he'll be falling for Rem's trap by sending her out there. She confidently says she'll force Lemegeddon to leave while being careful of the others. This earns his confidence and Phoenix lets her go, so she readies her sword as she passes by the 2 heavenly knights, but neither of them stops her. This makes Phoenix realize that Rem probably also predicted this, so he tries calling her back, but it's too late because he can't abandon Lily either while facing these floor bosses. He wonders if they'll attack him at once, but Mark says they're obeying Rem's wish, who ordered them not to do so. This makes Phoenix proud of his friend for being a good leader to the monsters, and for surpassing everyone's expectations of him. That being said, Phoenix decides to take them all, while Bella arrives at Rem's throne, finding it empty to her greatest shock. She instantly knows that this could be Glazia's doing and quickly warns her cohorts. Watching her, Rem is impressed that even after calmly analyzing the situation, Bella didn't forget to carry her teammates along, and this makes her a superior adventurer. He knows she's aware of his real identity, and she warns that she won't fall for his ambush. Raising her sword, she causes ice particles to rain down because, despite his invisibility, Rem's form might be revealed if he moves toward her in the snow. The moment she senses movement, Bella quickly acts on impulse and stabs in that direction with a large icicle. But to her greatest disappointment, it isn't Rem, but a ghost controlled by chimeras. In the snow, she sees tons of those ghosts and ghosts them, but gets pissed that Rem's ignoring her, probably like she's not worth his time. But this isn't true, because he's only avoiding direct physical combat with her to preserve his form for his fight with Phoenix, and even more importantly, Chimeras the Ghost Mage wants to fight with Bella. It turns out that he greases his wand to her thirst traps and has been seeking a chance to fight with her so he can turn her into one of his ghosts. She tells him to stop spewing trash, and he offers a fair fight, using just their swords to determine the victor, meaning no ghosts or black magic will be involved. They begin clashing swords to no end, until Bella resorts to using her icicle to create another magical barrier. However, Rem notes that her magic reserve is depleted, and no matter how good she is, she can't carry huge spells excessively, which is all happening according to Rem's plan. Soon, Bella's sword strikes Chimeras on the shoulder, but he pierces his sword right through her chest. She promises to get in the next time, while he promises to bag her in the same way, watching as she transforms into one of his ghost puppets. Impressed, Rem praises Chimeras for a job well done, and he mentions a fight with Phoenix, but Rem tells him not to go there. He apologizes and seeks permission to collect the ghosts of those who've been eliminated by Bella. Meanwhile, Lily's been fighting tooth and neck against some phantom dogs, tirelessly wielding her kitchen knife because Daddy's katana is too big for her. So far, she's very resistant to Rem's magic, because that's one of the perks associated with being an elf. He then strengthens his magic on her and manages to make her pant tirelessly, when an arrow suddenly appears from nowhere but narrowly misses her. She turns to see Larage standing in the corner and asks her if Rem's always been so strong, but Larage says Rem's even stronger than she thinks, though he's holding back to give Lily a chance at fighting. Larage then tells her to pick up her bow, and at that instant, Rem's black magic is lifted from Lily. Activating her lightning speed, Lily begins the battle with multiple shots fired, but Larage dodges them all. However, Larage only takes a kneel and fires one perfect shot that pierces right through Lily's neck, automatically defeating her. Before her magical body becomes inactive, Lirage advises her to work on being a sharpshooter, because outside Rem's black magic assistance, all she has is speed. Now, it's down to Phoenix, but when he sees Lily far off, it's already too late. Besides, he's still squarely facing the monsters in his presence. Anyway, Nibirius informs him that he's the last man standing and he'll get torched to death. But to their greatest shock, he makes their flames look like a spark compared to fireworks. Of course, now that he no longer has to worry about his party members, he's free to wield his magical power however he chooses. Seeing that the inferno didn't work against him, Nibirius boastfully bares his fangs at Phoenix, but the hero slashes his neck before he even spits, then sets his body ablaze soon after. Next, he offers to take on Mark, unaware of Mark who's attacking from behind. However, with his quick reflexes, he chops Vladis' limbs off, leaving poor Lirage and Chimeras, whom he invites for a chance to fight. Chimeras takes up the challenge and Phoenix swiftly rushes at him, but he defends the attack with his sword and unfortunately, his blade melts due to the intensity of Phoenix's flames. The next swing of the hero's sword sets Chimeras ablaze, and as his body disintegrates, Phoenix is impressed that Bella lost to such a guy because he has impeccable swordsmanship. From nowhere, arrows come flying at him, thanks to Lirage who's impatient with him. But he wastes no time on setting her ablaze before returning to his much-anticipated battle with Mark. Barehanded, Mark goes up against the hero's sword, and as a result, his arm is set ablaze. To Phoenix's surprise, Mark is a few inches away from clawing him down, so he quickly dodges the attack. It turns out that when he set him on fire, Mark quickly severed his own arm and prevented the fire from spreading to the rest of his body. They resume their fight, but in just seconds, Phoenix slashes Mark multiple times, setting his entire body ablaze. As he guys out, Mark requests a rematch someday, but this only makes Phoenix aware of the faith they have that Rem will defeat him. He quickly takes down Furcus, burns into ashes, and is left with Mira, who asks Rem to give her the next order. He orders her to make Phoenix disappear, and she quickly multi-attacks the hero, who defends against her shots with a magical barrier. However, amid her attacks and unknown to her, Phoenix swiftly sends his sideward, darting right into her stomach. Her body is set ablaze like the others, but Mira says it takes more than fire to bring her down. Being a vampire, she regenerates as fast as he comes, so Rem slices her with more force, dividing her body at the waistline. It seems that before she died, her final attack narrowly grazed Phoenix, so he acknowledges that she's worthy of being one of the four kings. As she burns, she apologizes to Rem and wishes him luck. Now, both men face each other and Rem confronts Phoenix about wiping out his subordinates, even though he chose not to intervene to respect their wish. He only now seeks to get rid of Phoenix and his party, although he notes that Phoenix seems to be more powerful without his teammates. He claims it's just because of the immense power of the four great spirits, and he also felt he could be better off on his own for possessing such power. However, a friend once told him that it would be boring if he was the only powerful one, although he was better off showing his true power after losing his comrades. Before they begin, Phoenix sets the entrance on fire and burns the cameras so he can fight with all his might, without caring about the paparazzi. Before the camera tech comes to replace it, they both get ready to choose the best man, and Rem is determined to win. He goes down memory lane, recalling when he was younger and his master asked him why he wanted to be a hero. Rem said it was because heroes looked cool and were always victorious, exciting the spectators. However, his master reminded him that as a black mage, he wouldn't particularly defeat any enemy with his bare hands, and if he didn't reach the top, no one would recognize his potential. His master placed his hand on his head and commended Rem's large heart, which remained kind even in the most difficult situations, and this earned him an official recognition as master's apprentice. The man broke one of his horns and handed it over to Rem, although he forbade him from using it except when victory was imminent, and he was in a situation that demanded he breaks the oath. Now in the present, Rem reveals his horn and Phoenix thinks that's his alien sausage, up until he sees an ominous thing emanating from Rem's hands, which become multiple bony projections sticking out from his body. Rem's immense power rattles the entire dungeon, shaking the ground underneath their feet. Impressed by this view, Phoenix is surprised that Rem hid such a thing for so long. Rem's demon horns refine magical energy gathered from everywhere, but unlike a normal demon's smaller reserves, the rulers of demons have horns that can store a larger capacity of mana. Lucy earlier told him that when a demon hands over one of its horns, the recipient inherits his powers stored within the horn automatically. Phoenix curiously wonders how many years' worth of magical energy, and Rem tells him to begin counting from the very day he receives the powers. It feels unnecessary for Rem to use that much power on Phoenix, but he humbly acknowledges that there's yet to be a single man who can defeat Phoenix single-handedly, save for himself. Right then, Phoenix's body and sword are clothed in white flames, known as the blaze of the gods, which can burn anything to ashes. Rem wonders if it's safe to use this level of magic on him, but Phoenix says it's needed because Rem's about the strongest hero he knows. As Phoenix rushes towards him, Rem creates a magical barrier, but Phoenix crushes it really fast. Rem changed his plan and decided to use the dangerous aspects of black sorcery, involving inflicting fatal illnesses, paralysis, insanity, and a host of other chaos. He sends down a barrage of those curses on his friend, but Phoenix's resistance quickly nullifies them all, even though he'll struggle and fall susceptible to some. For now, Phoenix's physical abilities have taken a hit, and Rem can only hope that he'll be fine since he has the white flames. His opponent rushed towards him at lightning speed, and his tremendous power crumbled the pillars of the room. Before impact, both men reaffirm their decision to win, and even though Phoenix feels heroes eventually win at the end, Rem says there will be a different outcome this time around. They both clash and Rem punches Phoenix's sword with his bare hands. The collision causes a massive explosion, but Phoenix, however, transforms his wings into crimson wings and descends upon Rem, attempting to set him ablaze, while Rem sticks his hands through the flames. He sustains his flames up until they run out, but Ren only loses one horn in the process, and Phoenix is shocked that even the power of the gods isn't enough to burn him. At this point, Rem's hand is sticking right through his friend's chest, and Phoenix is at the point of defeat, so he returns Rem's mask to him and places it on his face. Rem thanks him, but Phoenix says he's determined to return, even as his body slowly disintegrates. He still believes that heroes always win in the end, so he'll be back to challenge Rem again, though this friend says he'll still lose. Phoenix advises him not to use his horns on anyone else, and Rem says he doesn't even have challengers that warrant him using the horns. Just then, a reporter shows up and is shocked at the sight before her, as Rem's been injured on his shoulder, while Phoenix has an arm right in his chest. Both men agree that the battle was magnificent, and Phoenix disappears into thin air. The reporter then announces that Phoenix's party has lost to the Demon King's staff officer, but Rem says they haven't lost. Gradually, he also vanishes into thin air and concludes the battle could be considered as a draw, even though he won. As he returns to the Demon King's castle, the monsters rush to welcome him and Cashew tearfully runs to hug him. And then he celebrates his victory with the others. That's it for this video. Do you think Rem deserved the win more than Phoenix? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for similar content. And as always, thanks for watching.